164 Liturgical Prayer. Presence of God, O Jesus, head of the mystical body, grant that while praying with the Church, I may unite myself to your prayer. Meditation 1. A Christian is not isolated. As man, he belongs to the great human family. As one baptized, he is grafted onto Christ and becomes a member of his mystical body, the Church. A Christian is, at the same time, a child of God and a child of the Church. It is precisely in the bosom of the Church that he becomes a child of God. Hence his whole spiritual life, even though it has a personal character which tends toward intimate contact with God, ought also to have a social, liturgical character, which shares in the life of the Church. In other words, the spiritual life of a Christian should be framed in that of the Church, his mother. It should be associated to all that the Church does in union with Christ her head, to extend his sanctifying action in the world. Just as our spiritual life is born, grows, and develops in the bosom of the Church, so our prayer, which is the highest expression of the spiritual life, should be inserted in the prayer of the Church, that is, in liturgical prayer. Liturgical prayer has a special excellence, because it is not the prayer, however sublime and elevated, of individual souls, but is the prayer that the whole Church addresses to God, in union with Jesus, her spouse, and her head. It is something like a prolongation of Jesus' prayer. Indeed, it is a participation in those supplications which he himself always offers to the Father. In the glory of heaven and in humble effacement on our altars, he praises him, in the name of all creatures, and intercedes with him, for the needs of each one in particular. The sacred liturgy is the public worship given to the Father, by our Redeemer as head of the Church, and it is the worship which the Society of the Faithful render to their head, and through him, to the Eternal Father encyclical, Mediator Dei. Whenever we feel the poverty of our own prayer, let us offer to God the great prayer of Jesus, and the Church, associating ourselves spiritually. 2. Because liturgical prayer is the public prayer of the Church, it necessarily gives a large place to acts of exterior worship, such as ceremonies, chants, collective prayers, all of which must be performed with great care. However, this would be insufficient unless accompanied by interior worship. The sacred liturgy requires that these two elements, exterior and interior worship, be closely united ibid. Therefore, it is not enough to assist at sacred rites, to take part in ceremonies and collective prayers. This must all be vivified by personal interior prayer which raises the heart to God, with the desire of knowing and of conversing with him. Each soul in its own spiritual life is free to give a larger place to liturgical prayer, or to private prayer, according to its own devotion, but these two kinds of prayer must never be opposed to one another. Rather, they must be united in such a way that the one penetrates and sustains the other. As liturgical prayer should be vivified by personal prayer, so personal prayer should be incorporated into liturgical prayer, and nourished by it. In fact, as true children of the Church, we should try to sustain our personal prayer by the liturgy. Following the liturgical prayers at least on feast days by means of the texts in the Missal and Vesperal, we can attune our prayer life to the great mysteries of the life of Christ. The Church presents them to us at the various liturgical seasons, when she invites us not only to consider these mysteries, but also to associate ourselves with them. Thus, during Advent, our prayer will be centered on the mystery of the Incarnation. In Lent, it will be focused on the mysteries of the Passion and Death of Jesus, and so on. In this way, the liturgy becomes the central artery of our life of prayer, and provides it with very substantial food. Our personal prayer, then, is submerged in liturgical prayer and vice versa, since after we have contemplated in private prayer the mysteries presented to us by the liturgy, we return to liturgical prayer, better enabled to understand and relish it colloquy. O my God, how discouraged should I be by reason of my weakness and nothingness, if to praise, reverence, and glorify you, I did not have Jesus Christ, my only good, who does this so perfectly. To him I entrust my weakness, and I rejoice that he is all, and I am nothing. Yes, O Jesus, in you I possess everything. You are my head, and I am really one of your members. You pray, adore, humble yourself, and give thanks in me, and for me, and I do the same in you, for the member is all one with the head. Your holy, magnanimous life absorbs mine, which is so vile and mean. Compare BLM Teresa. O Jesus, seated at the right hand of the Father, and interceding continually for us, deign to absorb and be your great prayer my very poor one. O Jesus, grant that I may adore the Father in spirit, and in truth, and in order. That I may do so, permit me to adore him by you, and in union with you, for you are the great adorer in spirit, and in truth. Compare ETI 9. You alone are the real adorer, whose prayer and adoration are perfectly worthy of the infinite majesty. You alone are the perfect praise of the most holy Trinity. You wish to associate with this praise the Church, your spouse, and my mother. You wish to associate me with it also, your member, and a child of the Church. Grant that by participating in the prayer of the Church, I may likewise participate in your prayer. Do not look upon the poverty of my personal prayer, but see it united with the sublime, unceasing prayer of your spouse. See it joined to the perpetual chorus of praise and petition which your priests, the souls consecrated to you, and all your elect, are continually sending up to your throne. Grant that my voice may not be discordant in this magnificent chorus. Help me then to pray with a real spirit of piety, and with an attentive, devout soul, so that my heart will always accompany the movement of my lips, and my interior sentiments vivify every action, every chant, and every word.